Hey guys, welcome to the Tim Lauer Podcast, where we talk about all things small business, entrepreneurship, real estate, and issues that affect us locally and nationally. Today we got on the show Christina McInnis, running for Commissioner of Agriculture and Industry.
Now, Tim, we're in Baldwin County. You have to say Christina Woerner McInnis.
I gotcha. I apologize. Christina Woerner McInnis, Baldwin County native,
Yes.
fifth generation farmer, tech-minded mom who was behind Soil Kit and wants to drag the Montgomery Agriculture Department into the 21st century. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate it. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. So tell the voters a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So, of course, I started with Christina Woerner McInnis. I was born and raised in Elberta. And my family kicked off this year farming for 120 years.
Wow.
Actually just went past my house this morning over on County Road 87 and Warner Road. Saw the center pivot. And it's really sentimental to understand your roots and what built you. And I remember the times on the farm where as soon as I could walk, I was put on the back of the tractor, right there on the 5 acres around our house. And it's very special that I have those roots that started in the soil outside of my house and farming. But also, because we're here in Baldwin County, I say this, my mama's side is the Kickler side. So those were the sweet potato farmers. And yes, I have the nose of the Kicklers. And so my daddy's side is the Woerner family. But between those two families, they were strong farming families here in Baldwin County. And both of them were German and settled in Elberta, which is a German settlage here, the German Sausage Festival. And between all of them and my grandfather being one of 17 children and all the Kicklers, I didn't even get to date till I went to college because we were built around everybody being relatives because you bred your labor, really, you know? And so large family here in Baldwin County, and it's exciting to bring what built me to the state now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So growing up on the farm, how do you think that's going to impact you in the role you're running for?
So this is great. So let's talk about being raised on the farm. So we were never allowed to really watch TV or any of that kind of stuff. We were thrown outside to go to work, and people even say, you know, we would go pick what we were going to eat for supper that night, or we even knew the name of the cow that we were going to eat that came in wax paper from the Robertsdale livestock auction, you know. And so we were very homegrown off of real food. And then I went to Elberta school, and then I graduated Foley High School, went to Auburn and studied business there. And funny enough, you know, since we're talking politics a little bit, Coach Tuberville was my boss. I was his Tiger tutor. I tutored his athletes.
Oh, okay.
And my mama always told me on the farm, she said, honey, your back is not your power. She said, your brain is your power. And so I've always, you know, harnessed that to get ahead, just be really smart about it. And so that's what I'm now bringing is, look, I've come literally from the soil, rural Alabama, and I'm now really, I've been nicknamed that smart girl on the campaign trail with a 5-point plan. So I have a 5-point plan, and I'm running strong, but it's also exciting because I've been able to go to the federal level and work with some of our national leaders, such as Secretary Brooke Rollins. Got to meet her a couple times, saw her last week at the White House. And so, you know, when you sit down federal level versus someone in Elberta, you're able to have a conversation and understand what is good for Alabama and how can we bring this to have a seat at the table.
Absolutely. So that's awesome that you're running and stepping up. What was there a moment that made you realize you wanted to get in there and make a difference? Okay,
so a couple moments. And so I can remember I lived in Orange Beach, and Mayor Kennan came up. Mayor Kennan of Orange Beach. I know you know him.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
Actually, I think he's kind of a celebrity statewide. I see people in Huntsville, and they talk about him like a celebrity. Yes.
Mayor
okay.
Kennan.
And he came up to me. He said, Christina, I'm going to appoint you as the commissioner for the city of Orange Beach. And I said, I think you're crazy. I think you've chosen the wrong person. He's like, nope, you're the right person for the job. So I willingly went in and took that seat, and surprised at how converting from the private world to the public world as a public servant, I thoroughly enjoyed serving, volunteering and serving as a public servant for our community. And so at that point, I knew I was going to take some role as a public servant. And then I got invited to the round table by Coach Tuberville and Commissioner Rick Pate. And when we sat down at the round table for the Farm Bill, that is when we were talking about, of course, labor issues going on, feral pigs and so forth. But now keep in mind, I work nationally with Lowe's and Site One behind their brand. So I work not only here in Elberta, Alabama, and Baldwin County and state of Alabama, but I work nationally. And I'm sitting there at the table going, okay, well, where are we going to be in the next 20 years? And the current Farm Bill was so outdated. And I said, okay, this is the right place for the right reason. Let me harness what built me, agriculture, what I'm really smart about, policy, and let's build. And I knew Rick was terming out. I said, let's build this next generation of agriculture really great with the Alabama Department back. So I knew at that point, but it took me time because you got to remember, I was still in the private world. I had to tell my board, I had to tell the company, I had to tell the family that, okay, guys, I'm about to step up and serve the public as a public servant. So it took a little while, but it was great.
What was your family's reaction?
Well, okay, so again, we're going to talk a little farming terms. My dad, he walks in and he goes, she's bred for this. And so, I mean, it's kind of like they talk like cattle, you know, so we're just going to say it that way.
Nice.
And it's funny to hear my kids talk because my daughter called me from her civil engineering class. She was on FaceTime. And there was this kid and she goes, Mama, he heard you're running for Commissioner of Ag and Industries. And so she puts on FaceTime, shows him, and she goes, Miss McInnis, I saw that the Commissioner of Ag is on the gas pumps. And I said, yes. He goes, well, I'm going to need you to get in office and lower the gas prices because I am a poor college kid. I was like, nope, that is not what this office does. That's weights and measures. So the kids are having fun with it, and the family's excited about it.
Hope you're enjoying the Tim Lauer podcast so far. We talk about all things small business, real estate, politics, local and national issues that affect you most. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and be sure to drop a comment below. I read and reply to each and every one. Now let's get back to it. Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's change subjects and talk about the growing alarm that China and the CCP are buying up American farmland. Mm-hmm. Where do you stand on this, and what specific actions can the Agricultural Commission do?
So, Tim, I've been running now for about 16 months, and I've had the 5-point plan the whole time, to the point that people can literally recite it with their eyes closed because they've heard it so much. So that's point number 2. Point number 2 is China. And China has purchased over 400,000 acres of U.S. farmland.
Wow.
Okay.
How much of that in Alabama?
Very, very little, if any.
Okay.
So Alabama caught wind of that and stopped it. However, they're renting. Okay, so they're renting. So then Alabama had to go back and modify, let's not do it around military bases. Okay. But they're still out there renting. But what you have to remember is China's not always here in the physical presence. Okay. So Alabama stopped it. They're still here renting. They own 1 out of 4 hogs here in the United States.
Wow.
1 out of 4, 25% of our hogs. But you got to think about intellectual property. So, for instance, our family is in a biosecurity project right now that will go on probably 8 years. And we will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on it. But what will happen is you'll have high academia come over from China into our universities and come over and study this at the last tail end of a biosecurity academia project. And they will walk out the door with intellectual property, and or this is even like on the news, it's called Purple Maize. They will go out to the fields, steal the seed, and walk them straight over to the country.
Oh, wow.
So the FBI, well, first off, China, by the way, China publishes all this, that they're coming for the United States. They want to be the global leader. They're coming after these sectors. They're very open about it. It's not they're hiding it. What's happening is we're not realizing where it's happening. And so I heard the other day, actually it was last year, I heard the FBI grounded all the drones, the DJI drones. And I told my husband, I said, he works for the, builds bridges. So he does a lot of DOT projects, state projects. I said, do y'all do a lot of, DJI drones? Because we have a lot on the farms, that fertilize things and various things.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, we got a lot of them. I said, the FBI has grounded all DJI drones. And I said, expect to see that. He said, why? He said, because China's getting all the information before you even do. So you have to keep in mind, China is in our back door, and not only just the physical component of the land, but it's sitting as 90% in Walmart. It's sitting in the drones that we're using. It's intellectual property that's walking out the door. And so there's a lot of, Kevin O'Leary with the Shark Tank. So anyway, when I was with Lowe's, I had to go before Damon John and the CEO, and I came in second in the nation. Well, anyway, I'm a favor of Shark Tank, okay? Well, Kevin O'Leary was speaking in Birmingham, and he had 2 phones sitting there, and he said, This phone right here thinks I'm in Bangladesh and it has TikTok on it, and China knows everything that's going on. This phone right here doesn't have TikTok, and this phone actually knows where I am. I think we're losing sight of just how much China knows about us. And so I just want to bring awareness to everyone, especially when I met with Secretary Brooke Rollins at the White House last week. She said, Christina, it's China. And I just want to emphasize that. I know we all go through different phases of things, of what we go through in generations. Our generation was built where Foley Walmart opened up when I was back in Elberta, back I think in the 80s. And when they opened, it was the American flag and God bless America, made in the USA. And now you walk in there and 90% is China. And I just really want to emphasize the hand that feeds you and control you will own you. And I think that is a point that everyone needs to be very grimly aware of.
Absolutely. The threat's right.
That you won't even have to lift a bullet.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the biggest threat of them renting or buying farmland around military bases?
Again, I think it's monitoring. You know, you look at like, what do they gain by DJI drones? They know what crops you're growing, how big you're growing. They know what jets are coming in, what airplane, what activity. You know, I mean, the more you know, the more data you have, the more if you discern it, the more information you have. And we know what they're doing with AI and data centers over there.
Oh, yeah.
So they're escalating and they're building warships. And so just know keep your eye on the ball.
Gotcha. And you mentioned China owns 1 out of 4 hogs. Where do they stand on the rest of the industry as far as farmland? Okay, so we over 400,000 acres of farmland, but staggeringly enough, because of course this is a statewide race, and this office actually touches every Alabamian every day. I was with a bunch of medical doctors and we were discussing this. Do you realize how much medicine is produced by China? Okay, so I think a lot of that came out during COVID as far as critical medical supplies, medicine. They got a chokehold on a lot of those things.
Right. So again, watch these critical components. And then, so 85% of our meat processed here is controlled by 4 companies. 2 are foreign.
Oh, wow.
Again, follow things, look at things, ask questions, because some days to take over a country, you don't even have to lift a bullet. I emphasize that over and over and over again. You control the land, you control food processing. I mean, if you control that food source, you control the people of that country. You own it.
That's right. Earlier on, we talked about you introducing more tech into agriculture. Where do you think Alabama agriculture is currently and it's lacking in adopting technology? Sure.
So in general, I'll say this about everything. Agriculture is taken for granted. I mean, nationwide, statewide, people just assume that they can go to the grocery store and everything's going to be purchased safe. So let's pair. So Alabama's number 1 industry is agriculture. It is a $77.3 billion with a B economic impact, 1 out of 10 jobs. So even though you may not say, I'm a farmer, this office affects you. Okay. So let's take what we do great, agriculture. And now, because we live in Baldwin County, and we're going to talk about this. So we have 29.5 million visitors coming into this state. Where are they going?
To the beach.
To the beach. Okay. Funny enough, when I met with Bryant Bank in Tuscaloosa, they disagreed with me and said they're going to the Alabama football game.
Oh.
So you have 29.5 million visitors shooting down that interstate as fast as they can to get to the beach. But what's happening is they're bypassing our number 1 industry, which is agriculture. So what we need to do is do similar what I do for Lowe's and Site One behind their brand and put some innovation and ingenuity behind it. Let's make it an agritourism experience. I mean, they're on their way to the beach. We'll get them to stop at Coleman Strawberry Festival, get them to stop at Tate Farms to the pumpkin patch, get them to stop at Bruton for the blueberry picking. I mean, get them to stop at the Coastal Farmers and Fishermen's Market. That's number 2 in the nation. Make them sticky to buy real food. And I'll talk about RFK and eat real food and flipping the pyramid in a minute. But when you look at the economic impact of that, because my job is to put money into the pockets of farmers, but communities, okay, too, also. So when you spend $1 in that community, let's say this tourists come down, they go to Coleman, they go to Huntsville, they go to Bruton, they come here. When they spend $1, let's say at Coastal Farmers and Fishermen Market, 60 cents is going to stay there.
Wow.
You know why? Because those vendors are going to buy that baseball banner scholarship. These tourists are going to come down and gas up at the gas station. They're going to go walk next door to Wolf Bay Lodge and eat at Charlene's place, some good shrimp. And then they'll get down to the beach. So make them sticky, create the economic engine that we already see happening down in Orange Beach and Gulf Shores with their city school systems. We see and by the way, they do it with a smile on their face.
Yeah,
okay, this is not like taxing somebody, government overreach. This is saying, we have real Alabama food that is really nutritious and healthy. Come buy from us. Come experience what we do. And get the kids out and let them stretch their legs a little bit before you get down to the beach.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's talk about sweet grown Alabama a little bit.
Well, that would be the agritourism experience. So what we would do is take that and make it so if you're certified with Sweet Grown Alabama, let's say you pick a strawberry, and you're growing that Alabama, they'll know where to come find you to buy it directly from you. And by the way, you get a more premium cost too, because you don't have to share so many different levels of that cost. Because I know for sure, whenever you start at point A and then maybe you go through different distributors and levels, you're able to sell directly to the customer, offering that farmer a B2C model. And that's somebody asked me the other day, what does that mean? Business to consumer, not necessarily just business to business all the time, business to consumer. So offering that as an experience and turning it to more of a virtual agritourism is what my goal is for that.
Awesome. That's a great idea. I love it. You talked about MAHA.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get into that a little bit and then also how it's affecting SNAP benefits.
Sure. So point one, let's go. I always try to tie things back to the point. Point one is the farm. Just so you know, there is no farm left in the Farm Bill. Okay. It's $123 billion annually. Okay. $99 billion is SNAP, supplemental nutrition. And now I will fervently protect taking care of the most needy families and children. I am a mama of four. I am a mother hen. I want to see kids eat healthy food, nutritious food. We know the outcomes of what happened when they show up at school academically. I mean, even their health, pediatric diabetes, mental health. A lot of it stems from eating nutritious food. So we all see Make America Healthy Again. And here you got RFK, and he goes and flips that pyramid, which, by the way, this is so funny because I sit back and look at all this and I'm like, this is exactly how I was raised in Elberta. I mean, we were taught protein, vegetables, and fruit. We had very little processed foods in our diet. I mean, it was so bad when I grew up that my 12th birthday was at Burger King because we didn't eat out. So like I turned 12 and I was like, all I want is a birthday at Burger King, So, I just wanted to experience that. So making America healthy again, when you've got SNAP, you're looking at 80% of that as the Farm Bill. The number one commodity that's purchased on that is energy drinks and soda.
Wow.
$15 billion a year. Wow. Now, mind you, I like a good soda, okay? I'm not going to say that. I just think when we're feeding children, I can remember going to Dr. Eberly here in Foley. He took care of all four of my babies. And he was very strict about their diet and what was good for them. So I'm just only giving you what I was raising my children on between my farming upbringing and my pediatrician of, look, water and milk, okay? Not all these energy drinks that these kids are drinking, not all this other sugary stuff. And then on top of it, after you finish that, 75% of our children are clinically obese on this program. And then you go and tie that into the raging pediatric diabetes, the raging mental health that we spoke about.
That's right.
We're taking our tax dollars and we're making this situation a lot worse. And now Alabama, for the second time, has tried to get this off. And this legislative session looks promising. I mean, I haven't seen it signed in yet, which maybe by the time this airs, it gets signed in. But I think the one thing I want to emphasize is I follow Sarah Huckabee Sanders of Arkansas, the governor there. She said, I'm going to take all this off, but I'm going to put Arkansas rotisserie chicken on. Here's why. So you see all these states, Tennessee's filing the waiver, Arkansas's filing the waiver. Why? Because number one, the chicken's grown here in Alabama. It's a value add process here. It's ready to eat. It's sitting there, but it's a loss leader. You have a $5.98 chicken sitting at Walmart that's been grown and processed here. It's a loss leader, and that chicken is going to feed a family of four 2 meals. Okay? You really need to understand when you're looking at the most needy, what this program is intended to do, a lot of these people are in survival mode. Okay? They're finishing work, they're taking care of children, possibly parents. There's a lot of weight on their shoulders. Having that ready-to-eat Alabama rotisserie chicken, just like Sarah Huckabee is doing for Arkansas, that is not only good for our children and families, but guess who that's good for our farmers. I mean, you're watching all these poultry farmers. So poultry's not big in Baldwin County, but you reach other people with this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, poultry is huge in North Alabama, and we're number 2 in the nation. So, Tim, when you're looking at your financial statements and you're saying, where's your cash cow? Where are you the best at? What are you going to protect the most? Okay. So as I'm going around with poultry farmers and they're just down, I mean, the heads are down and we can't make it. We need other revenue opportunities. What can you do for us? Well, when 15% of the Alabama population, 15% of Alabama population's on SNAP.
Wow.
We could be addressing them with wholesome, lean protein. Again, eat more protein and providing an additional revenue opportunity for our farmers.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
Absolutely. So growing up on a farm and eating, farm foods fresh, are you a little bit more picky when you go to grocery stores?
Oh, I'm a diva.
Or,
yes.
What are some tips you have for people if they're going out, they want to make a nice steak dinner or?
Okay, well, I'm partial to the fact that I've already named that steak, Oreo or something before it got there. Okay. So, and now I've got heifers out in the field and I've named them again. It's terrible. I got Honey and I got Butterscotch and I got Camp the baby. And Tim's like, stop naming them. They're going to end up on the plate. Well, not Honey or Butterscotch, but, but I will say this, talking about vegetables particularly. I'm a kickler from Elberta. Sweet potatoes was our thing. Mm-hmm. The power of nutrition of a sweet potato. I want you to focus on, I bought 4 or 5 sweet potatoes the other day from the grocery store and local grocery store here. I wasn't able to get to the farmer's market. I'm on the road. And it was $1.50 for 4 or 5 of them. $1.50. Wow. Okay. The nutrition that is packed in that for a family. And all you had to do was wash it, roll it in foil, and throw it in the oven for a little bit and bake it. And then you can roast it, you can chop it up, roast it, you can bake it, you can do so many things with it. What I want to emphasize is take the outside of the grocery stores when you go there, if you're not shopping at a farmer's market. Mm-hmm. But do like the roasted broccolis. Make it as simple as you can. Don't overthink it. Think, I can't do this. It takes too long. Just don't overthink it. Make it simple. Just wash it up. Maybe slap on a little bit of butter and salt. Nice. Yeah.
Good advice. You mentioned naming the farm animals.
Yes.
Was there any favorite animals you had that ended up on your dinner table?
Oreo.
Yes.
Okay. That's like traumatizing. So, we had Oreo and something happened to his mom. And so I had to bottle feed him. And of course, my brother, we all had to bottle feed. Well, they will bellow at your window. Okay. Oh. And then you go out there and they nudge you, no. Okay. Well, you have to take care of them and bottle feed them. So you're their mama. Okay. Well, then when they get big and they're getting fat for slaughter, I'm not thinking of that. I'm like, it's still Oreo. And he slips underneath the fence and comes for ear rubs, this, that, and the other. And then one day he wasn't there. And I'm talking, me and Dad were about to I was ready to disown my daddy that day.
I can imagine.
They become pets. Yes. Yeah.
That's right.
But that is what farmers are, though. We are environmental stewards. We love the land. We love our animals. And we do what's wholesome for our families, even when it does mean that you put protein on the table.
That's right. Let's turn gears a little bit. Tell us a little bit about the company you founded, Soil Kit.
Okay. So Soil Kit is actually founded by Agritech. So what happened is around 2019, Dad said, look, go to the garden center and do an audit of what the customers are saying. So I went to school for business. So came back and I said, you've got all these customers coming in with a problem in their lawn or garden. And then I ran some statistics for them. You got 229 million households in the U.S., 80% are dissatisfied, and they're spending $505 annually. And I said, so you mean to tell me you got 80% of customers nationwide spending all this money and everyone's dissatisfied? Well, I'll ask you, Tim, when you go to the doctor and you're not feeling good, mm-hmm. you got a problem. I'll look at you and say, I'm going to need you to go down to that drugstore and I want you to go get that multivitamin. No, you look at the doctor and say, take some blood, put a stethoscope on me, give me a little bit more diagnostic. And so that's what we did. We decided to be more diagnostic. But what happened is because we do work sporadically around the nation, it's tough to be able to put a whole program together and then be able to provide that consultation. So I decided to launch just a very simple, basic soil test program. Mm-hmm. And then I had one of my shareholders say, Christina, this is a complex algorithm and you're a software developer now. And I said, no, I am not. I am a farmer. I was very adamant who I was. And sure enough, he was right. I was wrong. And you'll only hear that a couple times in my life. But what happened is when we did that, everyone began to gravitate to go, what is going on? And people like to work with their thumbs at 2:00 in the morning, and they don't really like to talk to people sometimes. And they just want the answers. Mm-hmm. Some people like to talk to, which we provide now, Ask the Agronomist. So if you do want to talk to somebody, you can pay a session to talk to somebody. But you basically, and even sitting down with the land-grant universities, they said, we can tell you that you need things, but we can't prescribe the antibiotic or the medicine or the prescription to go with it, So what we did is we paired up all of the pain points that the land-grant universities were not allowed to do. So we did a private-public partnership. And then now we're able to be nationwide. And when Lowe's found out, actually it was coincidentally during 2020, and you'll remember this. So not only on top of COVID, we had Sally come up.
Yep.
Okay.
Right. Yep.
And I had trees on my house. My office was flooded. And even we were just helping new neighbors find food, and no one expected Sally to be that bad.
Yeah.
And I had a friend and she got through, and I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, oh my goodness, I actually have cell phone reception. I answer it. And it was my friend Valerie. She goes, I need you to apply for this, that, and there. I was like, Valerie, I'm in survival mode here. She's like, okay. Da, da, da. So anyway, I ended up making it with Lowe's, and we ticked through we came in second in the nation. And it was very surreal to be with Damon John and the CEO of Lowe's. And I said, why? And they said, we've always wanted to do this. This is the DNA of all the answers to get things started. And actually, I'm excited. I'm actually going to corporate Lowe's. I work under their brand now, Stay Green. Okay. And so I'll actually be with their corporate team all on the 21st with a huge group of them, just telling them about ag technology software and how important it is to start in the dirt.
Wow.
And how many answers come from science.
That's such a great example of how you've already introduced tech into the ag world, and you're not even in the commissioner spot yet.
Correct.
So that's great. So how many candidates are running for that position right now?
There's 3 of us.
3 of you.
Yes.
So what differentiates you? Why are you the best candidate?
Okay, so I like to be kind of humorous with this. I'm the only girl. Okay. No, we're all very dynamically different. We each bring different skill sets. So I will say this, I'm very much of that farm girl outsider. I come from agriculture. I'm not bought and paid for. I'm not an establishment candidate. I am just coming at it because I just want to go do public servant work for the state. And, I'm just kind of doing it honestly, but when you look at all 3 of us, we'll each bring something different to the table, but yeah, it's because I'm the only girl.
Okay. Well, you're the only one that's been on my show too. So I think that gives you a little bit of an advantage.
I try not to be mean. I'm not mean.
So tell me what it was like working with Tommy Tuberville. You have any good stories with him?
Yeah, I got some good stories.
Okay.
So first off, let me tell you why I worked with him. So born and raised in Alberta, there had not been a college graduate by the time I went from the Woerner family. Okay. So my mom was very proud that she sent me to college. She had worked really hard. She was so excited, and she's like, we're going to get you a car and you get a college education. That's what you get.
Nice.
And then of course I had all these, I couldn't do sorority. They were like, no, you have to go work for it, this, that, and the other. But one of their rules was if you ever go part-time, not full-time, you either have to come back to the farm to work or you have to get a job. Okay. Well, I had to drop a class one summer, and that was when I was kind of starting to date my husband, Timothy. Okay. And the last thing I was going to do is go home and work at the farm and take care of my siblings. So I was like, ooh, I'm getting a job. So I went to Auburn Plainsman. I was like, ooh, and it was a tutor. I was like, he didn't say how many hours I have to work a week. I was like, I'm going to go tutor. Okay. And it was Tiger Tutor. So I walk in and I'm in the onboarding session, and coach walks in and I'm like, I think that's the football coach. You got to think about this, back in, the 2000s and 1999. And I'm like, that's the coach. He comes and he looks and he goes, you're the Tiger Tutor, this, that, and the other. You will see my athletes in the library. You will not be following them to the dorm room, not getting in the car. There's no mischief here. You are the tutor. I was like, oh, yes, sir. I'm not going home. You give me a rule and I'm doing it. So the one thing I appreciate with Coach, there was no gray area. He had his rules and you followed him or you were out.
Nice. That's great. That's great. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you want to convey to the voters?
Well, I think really it's the 5-point plan. Let's do the Farm Bill, which we talked about. Let's keep China out. Sweetgreen, Alabama, we talked about that. Now, one thing we need to touch on is young farmers. The one passion of mine is the first generation farmers and the young farmers. If we are selling everything and eating from a foreign country and not looking at the next generation, we're going to be owned by a foreign country. I am very passionate about that. I have some programs that I'm going to release for the young farmer, but it is so difficult. And I could say this, especially in Baldwin County, to buy land, to buy equipment, to start as a new farmer. It's impossible.
Yeah.
It really is. And then when you do get in there and then you start farming, they're learning. And so the mentorship program. So I actually took my dad with me and on the road some to see this, and we have some ideas of what we're going to do. And I can't release too much because it gives my competitors, ammunition. But I have a program what we're going to do. But that ties to the last point. The one thing that's very obvious is there are programs for young farmers. So point 5 is a voluntary grant portal. I don't know if you've ever seen any of these public or federal and state and private grants or programs. I don't know if you've ever seen them. Whether a school wants a greenhouse from one of the equipment dealers to NRCS or USDA, it's like a foreign language. You don't even know. One of the questions is, am I even a specialty crop? Like defining it. And then everyone gets concerned that, if they answer the question wrong, just not knowing it, that they're going to go to jail for it. So what we're going to do is have a voluntary grant portal where we'll have a headhunter go find those monies and programs for you. So you'll come to me and say, you know what, I'm done with this podcast. I want to be a first generation farmer. I'm going to say, okay, Tim, we're going to put you over here on point 5 in a voluntary grant portal. Let's talk about it. And here's how we get you started.
Wow.
So we really want to focus on young farmers and then keeping the money here in the programs here to power, not just constantly feed, but have the programs in our hand to get them started so they can sustain on their own. There are things we can do.
Absolutely. What's your message to the voters?
My message to the voters is very simple. Number 1, I need your vote May 19th. Okay, and we joked about the fact what makes me different. I'm a girl. Alabama has never gotten behind a female ag commissioner. Okay, but I'm going to tell you something. I am, like my daddy said, I was bred for this job. Okay, I'm born and raised here in Baldwin County. I'm the hometown girl. I was made for this. So I asked for the vote May 19th. I'm going to do a great job. I will work smart for Alabama, but also not only here at the state and at the federal level. And then number 2, I ask you to like my Facebook page and follow along. You get to see where my bull Rowe decides to buck me in the middle of a Facebook page, or my kids comment that I ate all the strawberries from the Coleman Strawberry Festival, which was true. I did. There's a lot of Alabama you get to experience on the Facebook. Number 3, I ask anyone interested to make a financial contribution. You understand running for office.
That's right.
Not only does it help with the financials, but it puts your name on the Secretary of State to say, look who's behind Christina. Look at this name list. And then number 4, the one thing that's so great about Alabama is the word of mouth, the grassroots is still real here. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I ask you to go to Sunday school. Okay. Go sit on that church pew, go to a community meeting and say, I heard Christina speak the other night. And you know what? She's really smart. And she is a farmer. And yes, I'm forklift certified and can pull a calf. That's a totally different thing. But I'm going to go to work for Alabama for the right and wholesome reason. So those are the 4 things I ask.
Awesome. Well, Christina, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
And it's very commendable to step up and run for this position and put yourself out there. So we appreciate that.
Thank you, Tim. It's great. Appreciate it.